For years, the term problem management had a special meaning for me. No, it wasn't the volatility of the stock market, or the dot-com bubble, or the anxieties of the war on terrorism and homeland security. No, it was none of those things, you see, my friend, because I raised two teenagers. Every week a new crisis, the raging hormones, the adolescent angst, the cultural tinderbox, and of course a few moments of pure joy. You know what? This may very well describe your IT environment, come to think of it. So you're in the right place at the right time. Let's take a look at problem management. In this nugget, we'll conquer 5 key topics. First of all, we'll define what problems are. And of course, as we know already, it's not dealing with teenage kids. It's a whole other thing entirely. We'll also compare problem management to incident management. And in the course of that, comparing problems to incidents. They're two different things. We'll look at the goals and objectives of problem management. We'll explore the problem management processes and, of course, and then finally, the very important role of the problem manager. When it gets right down to it, the bottom line is this. Problem management is very closely related, tightly coupled to the service desk and incident management. And it's because of that tight coupling to incident management that a lot of organizations actually get into trouble because they have the same policy controlling and governing incident management as they do problem management, typically wrapped up in the same team of people. Unfortunately, that can lead to a lot of problems, as we're going to see here in this particular nugget movie. You see, the main concern with problem management is eliminating infrastructure errors, where incident management has nothing to do with eliminating infrastructure errors. It's basically getting the end user back into operation as soon as possible. As a matter of fact, incident management and problem management actually have contradictory goals in mind. The goal of problem management is to find the underlying cause of actual and potential failures. Remember, problems lead to incidences. Incidences do not lead to problems. Where incident management is a reactive process, problem management at its core should be a proactive process. Improving problem resolution, locating areas that need to be improved, and freeing up resources for problem resolution. If your organization or your business is deeply entrenched in the day-to-day, hour-by-hour reactive incident and problem resolution, you're not going to have any time to free up the organization and personnel for the proactive approach to problem resolution. In addition, problem management deals with tracking and monitoring the infrastructure, again, leading to less incidences, which also leads to less downtime for end users and customers. Now, when we talk about problem management, we're really talking about 3 different definitions that relate to one another. First of all, you have your problem. And a problem is defined as an undesirable situation, okay? An indication of unknown root cause, one or more existing or potential incidents imminent. That's a problem, typically an infrastructure issue. Now, what that leads to is the known error, okay? So a problem is going to lead to a known error. A known error is a problem for which the root cause is known and for which a temporary workaround has been identified. From that known error and the subsequent workaround, we've got what's called an RFC. A request for change, not a request for comment like we see up on the web with RFCs for IP addressing and how TFTP works and things like that. IPsec, for example, RFC in the sense of request for change. A request for change is going to be a document that proposes a change, typically allocating time, resources, and people to the infrastructure to eliminate a known error. Next, we want to look at problem management versus incident management. It's a key differentiation. And I want to first talk about something I mentioned earlier when I said that problem management and incident management really have 2 contradictory goals in mind. I mean, think about it. With incident management at the service desk, what we really want to do is we want to find a quick fix or workaround or quick solution to get that user or customer back up and running and back doing their thing as quickly as possible. With problem management, we're looking for the root cause of issues, the root cause of problems that lead to multiple incidences. So in the process of investigating problems, we may have a long period of downtime. During that downtime, incidents may be solved using workarounds or quick fixes to just simply address the user issues. Now, when you combine problem management and incident management, as you can see, into one IT service, you're really kind of contradicting each other. So from an ITIL standpoint, you would like to separate these IT services if possible. This is going to give you long-term effectiveness. Problem management should support incident management. In other words, by providing workarounds and temporary solutions while at the same time looking for long-term solutions. Behind the scenes, often with the change management, which we're going to look at later on in this Nugget series. Problem management does not do any incident resolution. In other words, they don't interface directly with users and customers to solve problems. They'll work with incident management and change management through the service desk model. Problem management is going to take time, often a long time, to identify root causes of incidents, even if it means bringing in vendors, suppliers, manufacturers, consultants. This could be an extended period of unplanned downtime. From an incident management standpoint, you never want extended periods of unplanned downtime when dealing with users and customers through the service desk for incidents. It's very important to understand this. So optimally, we want to separate these two processes in the IT service area. Also, problem management is often an escalation point for the service desk incident management. When you're escalating either vertically or horizontally, often you're going now into the realm of problem management. For example, let's say your company has implemented a custom sales lead tracking application for your sales force, and you notice that you got several incidents at the service desk for errors that are popping up when your user/customer is trying to export that database into, let's say, a spreadsheet or some other format so they can make it mobile and take it with them. So you've got this incident that's popping up. Well, if you cannot figure the problem out in the service desk incident management process, you're going to pass that on to problem management, and they're going to, of course, take the information from the database, and they're going to go through their process, hopefully giving you a quick fix or a workaround, and then going and looking at the root cause of that problem in the application or in the network infrastructure. Two different processes. So understanding the differences between incident management and our knowledge of incident management, comparing it to problem management, should help lead us to the goals and objectives of problem management in an ITIL environment. Right off the bat, one of the ways you can differentiate the two areas of problem management is firefighting versus and/or fire prevention. And take a second here to think about the process of a firefighter. Maybe you live in a small town and you've got the local firefighters. Think about what their job role really entails. Two things: firefighting, which hopefully happens on rare occasions, and on a daily or weekly basis, fire prevention, going to businesses, conducting inspections and doing training and doing awareness seminars to help prevent fires. When we think about firefighters, we think about the dangerous role of going out there in those suits and fighting a fire. But in a way, almost a more important role is to go out into the community, into the organization, and help prevent fires through training and awareness. A proactive approach rather than a reactive approach. So problem management is reactive and proactive, but you like to spend the majority of your time and resources being proactive, like the local firefighters and fire marshals. This is a very good analogy to the way an ITIL organization should approach problem management. What we want to do is, and a major goal, is to minimize the adverse effects of problems and incidents on our business. Also, along with this is kind of the concept of a firewall. You want to put a system in place so that if you have an outbreak in one area of the organization or the business, it's not going to spread into another area of the business. So that kind of firewall concept, which goes along with firefighting, is the same thing here. With problem management, let's say we're dealing with a worm or a virus or some type of security outbreak, we will also be able to isolate and kind of modularize that problem so it doesn't spread to other areas of the business. That's also part of minimizing the adverse effects. So most of the time, a large percentage should be spent on proactively preventing the occurrence of incidents, the occurrence of problems, and the occurrence of errors. So a typical process of the problem manager or the PM team would go through is going to have a three-step process. First of all, it would be to identify the errors, to identify the problems. Then go through a decision-making process. And this means, is this even a problem that at this time we have to allocate resources to? It also involves prioritizing this particular error or problem. And then, once the decision is made, to act accordingly, monitor and report and see it through to its logical conclusion, finally closing up the case and fully documenting the process. Another objective of PM is to present proposals to management and to stakeholders for the constant improvement of your systems, of your infrastructure, to help rectify errors. This could be a proposal for doing a system-wide update or an upgrade, for example. Let's use my State Farm example. Submitting proposals for upgrading all of the servers and all of the State Farm agencies from Windows 2000 to the more secure Windows 2003 with all of its security updates. Okay. Also with hot fixes and patches that'll help rectify errors as well. Errors that occur from running certain applications on the operating system. SQL Server, for example, Exchange, things like that. It also means presenting proposals for how we're going to respond to those requests for change that are submitted from the problem management area. Again, the goal to proactively identify weaknesses and vulnerabilities in the infrastructure. These are the goals and objectives of problem management. The process of problem management is basically threefold. You've got a series of different types of inputs. Those vary upon your organization. Then you have your main actions that you're going to take based on the input into the PM process. And then, of course, the results of those actions are going to be your outputs. Typical example of some of the inputs you would receive into the process would be incidents. This would be incidents as reported from the service desk, and of course this is going to be logged and recorded into the database. Whatever you call it, the incident database, the change management database, whatever your company wants to call this, that's going to be a main aspect of your inputs. Also, other inputs that are going to be acted upon are fixes and workarounds that either are discovered by your organization or things that you may learn from vendors, contractors, third-party consultants, manufacturers, producers of the products that you purchase. Configurations, configuration details. This can come from a configuration database. This can be stored in text files. Data from vendors, that goes back to workarounds and fixes. Information you learn from your vendors about the products, the hardware and software that you purchase. Inputs, information from service level agreements. That may also be acted upon. Records, any types of recording, whether it's done automated or whether it's done manually. Logs that are stored in a syslog server, for example. Performance metrics. Maybe you're using Windows Performance Monitor. Performance metrics that are recorded about software and hardware. All these things are inputs that can be acted upon in the problem management process. The main actions you're going to take really are fourfold. You're going to have what's called problem control, error control, proactive management, and then reporting and documentation. Now I'm going to go through these main actions. They're so important that we're going to go through these one at a time. I'll elaborate on each of these in just a second. But what are the outputs? The main outputs from the problem management process are going to be things like this. So if problem control is the defining, the investigation, the diagnosis process, the process of transforming problems into known errors, and error control is monitoring and controlling known